Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday, December the 4th. Boy, time just keeps rolling, doesn't it? And everything. It's going to be Christmas before long and everything. And tonight, we're celebrating, and this will be the last time for Kathy and I, but joyful night celebrations at 6 p.m. It's on the south step of the State Capitol building and complex. We're going to have our biggest Christmas tree lighting ever. It's a 54-foot Norway spruce from Boggess State Park, and between the Division of Forestry and the Department of Transportation, they've gotten a tree here, and we're ready to go. It'll really be a great night and everything. I think we're going to do this at 6:30. It'll all start at 6 o'clock, and Randall Reed Smith, I promise you, will have a big show and everything, and it's a great time to celebrate an incredible time of year, first and foremost, but really all the great things that are going on in this state, the things that we should be so thankful for and everything. This state is so special, and we're so blessed to be able to live here and have our friends and neighbors and everything right here with us and everything. It's just an unbelievable state. We should be so happy about that. But also I want to tell you that if you can't make it down, we want everybody to come on down and enjoy this incredible night and everything. But if you can't make it down, West Virginia Public Broadcasting is airing the celebration live on the West Virginia channel. So absolutely, if you can't make it down, enjoy on TV. So nevertheless, a great night, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that, and we're going to start it at 6, and at 6:30 we're going to fire up and light the tree. Now I've got to be really serious about this one. I'm serious about all of them, But nevertheless, Erica Boggess, she's retiring, and this is after nearly 30 years of service, for the great state of West Virginia. She's the executive director of the West Virginia Housing Development Fund, and she is such a technical mind. I mean, somebody that is unbelievable, and we're going to miss her more than you can possibly imagine. And it's going to take time. It's surely going to take time to be able to replace her, and we thank her. We thank her for all those years, but I especially thank her for the years of COVID. She stepped up and she did so much for so many, and she worked side by side with me, and I can't tell you how much that I appreciated her and appreciate her to this day and always will. So, Erica, we wish you the greatest in your retirement, but we'll miss you. We'll really, really miss you, and this state will really miss you in a great big way. So, God bless in every way. We're losing a superstar, and we should all know that. If I could switch channels with you just a second, our revenue numbers came in for the month of November, nearly $20 million, $18.8 million surplus and everything. Good news. It's just further testimony that we cut taxes in this state $1 billion. $1 billion. And not just $1 billion, it's $1 billion this year, it's $1 billion next year, it's $1 billion the next year. And absolutely we continue to thrive and do good things in this state. Now I'm telling you, as we go forward, we've got to keep this going. We have got to keep the ball moving and absolutely moving north. West Virginia has an opportunity to get rid of its state income tax at some point in time. We got to grow. We've got to grow the revenue. Absolutely. There's so many things that we need to continue to keep all this moving and everything. And so I wish, and I'll help in any way. I'll stand ready to come and do anything I can possibly do to assist and everything. But our up-and-coming Governor Patrick Morrissey, Patrick is a dear friend, and I wish him the very, very best. Him and Denise, they'll do an incredible job. They're a good family and with a lot of experience, and and it's different. And it'll take a little while for them to get adjusted and their feet under them and everything, but really and truly, it'll be a great big honor for them, and they'll do great work, and that's what we want. We want to keep this thing going. I mean, we don't want to sputter. We want to keep it going, and so be really supportive of them, and let's just try to help in every way we possibly can. Monday, we were in Greenbrier County, and we did some neat stuff there. I guess the neatest of all was we did some stuff at Greenbrier East High School and everything as far as their gym floor was damaged with some water, water damage and everything. It's going to have to be replaced at some point in time. It's about 20 years old and everything, and some lighting on the football fields, our football field is in bad, need, and so. But then we left there, and we had a great day there and everything, a great morning there, and then we went to Greenbrier West. And Greenbrier West High School, their floor has not been replaced for 55 years. It's amazing. They've kept really it in nice condition, but really and truly, you talk about something that really needed done and everything, and that's us presenting the check, and so. Good day, really, really good day in Greenbrier County, and we've had the opportunity to be in lots and lots and lots of places and lots of counties, but this was a good one. There's Captain Drew Pendleton, the fellow that's the head of all my detail. That's his mom, the mayor of Rainelle. That's Andy, and Andy is just unbelievable. I mean, she really is. You talk about a superstar and somebody stuck on all the time, and so. Andy, we thank you. We love you and everything in every way. The kids at Greenbrier East were great. The kids at Greenbrier West, great also. It's just really a lot of fun for me to go to the schools and be with the kids because they're everything to me. I mean, last night I was in Lincoln County, and all day yesterday I was in Washington, D.C. I was at the library, the Library of Congress and everything, and I was there all day, for all practical purposes, and flew back and ended up in Lincoln County last night coaching a basketball game. When we drove into the parking lot, honestly, the place was packed, and I thought, well, surely to goodness, they must have other things going on here. And then we got out of the car and started into the gymnasium. And Kathy was with me, had baby dog with me and everything. We're going into the gymnasium. We realized that these people had come out and everything. They wanted to see the governor. They wanted to see the senator they wanted to see the first lady, and they surely wanted to see baby dog. So we were able to speak to the kids and try to motivate a little bit and really, to me, it exemplified in every way just this. Hometown America. It's really what this whole thing is all about. It's really what the movement is all about right now with the new Trump election and really what's going on in D.C. Really and truly what we need to be all about is getting back to our roots. Absolutely. Get this craziness out of our lives and everything. It's tough enough. That's all there is to it. We want to be super fair and absolutely be kind, and we want to be observant of our environment and our waters in every way, all the different things. But with all that in us, we got to get the craziness out of our lives. We've got to stop this flow of all these people coming across the border and all the drugs and all the different issues. I mean, how crazy is it for men to be in women's locker rooms? I mean, come on. We have absolutely just got to hit the reset button and get America really being America again. And so there's last night, especially at Lincoln County, it just, you can just see it all over the place. I told those people and I told those kids just this. Now, you may disagree with me, and if you disagree, well, we just disagree. But I truly believe that the world is awakening to parents all over the world that would give anything for their kids to be those kids at Lincoln County. Now, sure, we may be a little behind, whatever it may be, but with all in us, to me, those kids are loved by their teachers. They're safe. Those kids really and truly have the foundation in life as far as values. It isn't a matter of what you can get by with. Those kids know what's right and wrong. And sure, they screw up and have issues. We have issues all over the place. But there's kids all over this world that parents are afraid for them to go to school. Parents are afraid of the crime and the drugs and everything else under the sun. There's a lot of good going on in Lincoln County, and we should remember that. West Virginia, you're doing a lot of good, a lot of places, and boy, I'll tell you, if anything in the world, because those people were super nice to Kathy and myself, and like I said, they loved Baby Dog to death, but it was a really good night. It was a long day. I left about 5:30 and or got up rolling about 5 o'clock, and then ended up driving in the driveway last night a little after midnight. So it was a long day, but nevertheless a really good day. Okay, I congratulate the men's soccer and of course the men's football team the football team at Marshall University. What great work they're doing. The soccer team is one game away from getting to the Cup Series, and having another shot at making another run at another national championship for Marshall University. That's unbelievable. It's just hard to fathom. The football team won an incredible game, double overtime against James Madison and everything, and now they're on to the Sun Belt Conference Championship. Gosh, Coach Huff, I think the world of you, and you just made us so proud and everything. So just keep doing it. And so this Saturday, Louisiana has to fall, and Marshall needs to be the champion of the Sun Belt Conference. So nevertheless, great work, men and players and coaches, all of you. Great work. And I just want to remind you again about the online state parks stores, sales that we got and that we launched and everything. You can go and check it all out, look at all the merchandise. It's good stuff and everything, and enjoy. And that's all I have for right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor. We'll now take questions from members of the media. Our first question today is from Charles Young with WV News.
Hi, this is Charles Young with WV News. Governor, you mentioned being in Washington yesterday. I know you were there recently for other events. Have you had an opportunity as of yet to meet with any of President-elect Trump's cabinet nominees? I know that some of our sitting senators, Senator Capito and others, have already done that. Have you gotten a chance to meet with anyone during these visits? And if not, when do you plan to have those meetings? Thank you.
Charles, I've spoken with a bunch of them. I guess the last one I spoke with was Doug Burcham, and Doug is going to be the Secretary of the Interior, I believe. It started off maybe the Secretary of Energy, but I think they're going to land on Secretary of the Interior. Prior to that, I spoke with Pete Hessick, and I'm going to pronounce that wrong and everything, but I personally, I know he's got some tough stuff in his closet and everything, but really and truly, I'm telling you, Pete's a good man, and I know him well. He's a patriot through and through, and I hope he gets across the finish line. I don't know the play-by-play and all the specifics about the problems and they may be insurmountable, but but the process has got to work. And but I can tell you this, that in his situation, here's a guy that has served admirably. And with all that being said, right behind all that, he is truly, truly qualified, super intelligent, and just I'd hate to see him not get across the finish line, but he's a good guy. But nevertheless, I don't know of all of the antics and everything, and so nevertheless, I've been involved from afar. I've had several different conversations with the president, and I'm very supportive that he gets his team. Now, we want to be objective, and I'm going to surely be that, but at the same time, I want him to have his team too. I want him to have his selections, because he's going to be the one to work with them and everything. And at the end of the day, and I mean this, if it doesn't go well, blame him. If he picked the wrong person, he picked the wrong person. But really and truly, at the end of the day, I've got all the trust in the world in Donald Trump, and I believe he's trying as best he possibly can. We can't be perfect. None of us can be, and picking the right people all the time. But really and truly, I think he deserves at least the chance to have his team. That's what he needs to have. And so I'm going to try to be as supportive as I possibly can.
Thank you, Charles. Next up is Mark Curtis with Nexstar Media.
Good afternoon, Governor and fellow reporters. This is a bit of a follow-up question to that, Governor. I don't know if you got a chance to see Senator Manchin's farewell speech yesterday, and the speech by Shelley Moore Capito honoring him. Both of them very passionate supporters of the fossil fuel industry, as are you. And so I'm asking, give us more specifics about your agenda once you get into the Senate. How much are you going to be pushing for the fossil fuel industry? How much are you going to be pushing for additional Corridor H funding to get that highway project completed, and other things you might do? I asked the coal question, not just about West Virginia, because 5 of our surrounding states plus West Virginia represent 6 of the top 14 coal producing states in the nation. So how much of this is a regional issue that you'll fight for, in addition to fighting for West Virginia? And again, address Corridor H as well, please.
Well, Mark, I could talk a long time about this, and I'll try to be as brief as I possibly can be. But Mark, here's the whole deal. First of all, I thank Joe for the years. It's not an easy job. There's times you've probably got to do some level of trade-offs to be able to get what you want, or what you'd like to have the most. In those trade-offs, and in all fairness, just to tell it like it is, there was times when Joe was behind the effort, for the coal miners, and there was times when Joe was not behind the effort. And so, I thank him for all the years, but you won't ever have to worry about me. I'll be there every step of the way, all the time, 100%. Mark, I feel strongly about this. Yesterday, I told folks in the Senate and everything. In fact, I wrote it out and gave it to Steve Daines. He was sitting right in front of me. And here's what I said. I said, at the end of the day, what I think that we should do as senators is, early on, we've got to build a confidence with Toby and Edith. We got to get early wins. Now the tough votes, the tackling of entitlements, or the tough votes, the Social Security votes and everything. To be perfectly honest, Mark, and pay really attention to me. When I walked in the door here, we had tried to cut our way out of the mess And the more we cut, the more people left. And we couldn't the more figure out how to get out of this mess than the man in the moon. Well, absolutely what I brought to the table was grow your way out of the mess. And really and truly, in this country today, you know, Tommy Tuberfield, you know, yesterday, you know, the fellow that was a great coach in Alabama, you know, but Tommy comes up to me and says, you'll find this job as the most peculiar job in the world, and that's because we spend $2 trillion more than we take in every year. You know, I mean, how crazy can that be? I mean, really and truly, and he thought just that. How crazy can this be? But now, again, Mark, let me just hang with this just 1 second. In my world, here's how I see the whole thing. Get some early wins. Build some real confidence in Toby and Edith that they absolutely know that we're going to change things. We're not going to just talk about it. We're going to change things on the course of where we're headed. And then the last thing is just this. The key to the whole situation is energy. Mark, it's energy. 100,000% energy. And with all that being said, now just think about this just for a second, Mark. You know, if we solve the energy dilemma, it solves inflation. If we solve the energy dilemma, it drives so much business to this country that's all over the world because businesses want to come to the energy. They don't want to have the energy shipped all over the world to them. They want to come to the energy. And now, in addition to that, Mark, how in the world can we raise revenue in this country? How can we raise revenue? Well, you can tax the people more, which is ludicrous. Ludicrous. We need to cut taxes. Okay, now, how can we raise revenue, Mark? The only way in the world that I can see it, we are sitting on energy like you can't imagine. Why aren't we exporting it? Why in the world are we not absolutely doing any and everything? Why are we not Saudi Arabia? You know, Mark, whether it be our natural gas reserves, which are unbelievable, you know, why in the world have we turned our nose up at the greatest coals in the world, or metallurgical coals that make absolute incredible steel? Why are we turning our nose up at our thermal coals? You know, why are we blowing our own legs off every day and saying, China, you just take over. India, you just take over. You're building a coal-fired power plant every other day almost. Why don't y'all just take over while we blow our legs off? Mark, come on. Absolutely. At the end of the day, you're never going to have to worry about Jim Justice. And you're never going to have to worry about the fact that Jim Justice is going to forget about Quarter H. There's no way. There's no way. But Mark, what I need to do is, first of all, you know, get my feet underneath me and us really get going in the right direction, and then, you know, have as much influence as I possibly can and do as much deal making as I possibly can. And I've done a lot of that in my life and everything, and so I'm not going there to hang out. I'm not going there to get another gold star for perfect attendance. I'm going there to get something done. And that's all there is to it. And that's what I'm going to do. You know, I don't fail at too many things. I do it a little bit differently than most people, and most people sit back and say, well, if I was doing this, I'd do this, this, and this, and this. And really and truly, if you gauge them on them doing this, 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 and this, they don't get anything done. You know, there in most instances, those people that are talking like that are the definition of committee in my book. And that's a collection of individuals that individually have never accomplished anything. But collectively, they can all get together and decide nothing can be done. That's not Jim Justice. That's not me. So, Mark, I'm going I'm going to get something done. And believe me, B, I don't want anything for me. I want everything for West Virginia and everything for this nation. And I do believe we're going to shake up the world. I really believe it's going to really be something as to what happens and everything. And I want to shake up the world in a good way, in a really, really good way. But yeah, Mark, don't think for 1 second in the world that I'm not going to be a champion for our fossil fuels and a champion for West Virginia, a champion for Quarter H, a champion for the Coalfield Expressways. Don't worry a bit about that, you know, and I'll be there slugging it out, you know, with my style in my way, and let's just judge me by my deeds.
Mark, thank you. Next up is Keelan Bailey with West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Good afternoon, Governor. You mentioned in 2018 regarding PEIA that you were going to find a long-term solution. Tomorrow, the PEIA Finance Board is set to raise premiums and other costs again for members. From your point of view, how would you view the progress of PEIA over the last couple of years and now leaving office?
Well, first of all, let's be really fair. You know, way back when, you know, I came up with a tiering, and I did it with Bob Murray, you know, and, you know, Mr. Murray was at the time, you know, still running his coal company and everything, sure had some lung issues and everything, but still running a gigantic steam coal operation in West Virginia. I think 30 million tons. Unbelievable, you know, and especially, you know, at the time when you're running, you know, I don't know exactly what it was, but probably 50 million tons statewide, and his company's running 30. And prices of coal were terrible, $30 a ton. And so we sat together and I said we should tier the severance tax on coal and natural gas. You know, so what do? You know, we got together, we worked on it and everything. Actually, he came to me with a letter. I could show that to you any day. He came to me with a letter and everything on his stationery of what he would suggest. Well, I went to the legislature 14 times about the tiering of natural gas and the tiering of severance tax on coal. All of a sudden, prices shot off like a rocket and everything. It could have brought in so much more money to this state, we could not have ever fathomed the money. And really and truly, from a standpoint of most coal operators, it wouldn't have mattered hardly at all. Because, you know, when you're getting an astronomical number, whether it be $150 or $250 a ton for steam coal and $300 a ton for met coal, paying a few more dollars to the state of West Virginia wouldn't have been anything, you know. I thought really and truly that could be a possible permanent fix, you know, for PEIA. I couldn't get it across the finish line. From the legislature standpoint, couldn't get it across the finish line. It's a horrible mistake, you know, but, you know, couldn't get it there. Now today, all of a sudden coal prices have dropped way back down. The whole thought from Mr. Murray and myself was just one thing. And that was just this, is when things were bad for the coal industry or things were tough for the gas industry and everything, help them out. Try to step up and lower the severance tax and really try to help them out. Now, there's been other ways, you know, we've been able to fund through surpluses or pay raises or whatever it may be, but we do need a long-term fix. And but getting the legislature to agree to a long-term fix is hard. This is really hard issue to do. Now we've tried lots of different things and everything, but I would say for the governor to be, healthcare costs are still going to go up. You know, the legislature came up and changed the rules of the game, and we went to an 80-20 plan, you know, and with all that now we've got a situation to where folks are having to pay a little more, we've covered it through pay raises, and we've covered it, in different ways like that. But it's going forward. If you're asking, Governor Justice that's leaving you as your governor and everything, going forward, I'd still continue to work on a long-term fix, and it's not an easy thing. It's just plain not an easy thing, and so I think the boat has sailed and gone as far as the possibility of tiering severance tax. I don't think we'll ever get that done, and right now, to be perfectly honest, our gas and coal companies are having a tough go of it. So we need to be supportive of them in every way.
Keelan, thank you. Next up is Brad McElhaney with West Virginia Metro News.
Hi, Governor. Happy holidays. As you mentioned, your office provided about $1 million this week for athletic facilities at Greenbrier East, where you're the girls basketball coach, and Greenbrier West. Can you walk me through how those decisions are made about who gets funding through the governor's discretionary fund and why? Thank you.
Well, Brad, I guess to some degree, there are some dollars that the governor's office can decide on their own, but we've given a lot of money to schools all over the state, and we've still got some projects that we want to try to take care of, but we try to spread it out as best we possibly can, and do the projects that we think are in the most need. We got several people here, whether it be Ann Erling or Brian Abraham, Larry Pack, and on and on and on, that bring recommendations to me and everything as to what we ought to do. But we really try to spread it out and be really fair and take care of the spots that are in the biggest need.
Brad, thank you. Next up is Stephen Allen Adams with Ogden News.
Yeah, Steve Adams with Ogden Newspapers here. I don't expect you to necessarily give me all the numbers. I know we'll get those next January or next February at the beginning of the next legislative session. I know your budget people are working hard right now to hand off a fiscal year 2026 budget for the incoming Morrissey administration. But do you have any type of idea at this point whether there's expected to be a budget hole for fiscal year 2026, and any idea how big that might be? I understand you might want to not give that number out or let the next administration kind of handle that, but I didn't know if we're looking good for an FY 2026 budget. Thank you.
Stephen, for all I know, we do not have a hole for 2026 at all. And the next budget will surely depend on decisions that are made by the next folks that come in the legislature and on and on and on. We have for all practical purposes tried to keep a flat budget. I mean, Stephen, here's been the whole key. What happened? I mean, really and truly, what happened? We, for all practical purposes, didn't do a bunch of just pet projects. We didn't spend our money. What we did, Stephen, is just this. We kept almost a flat budget and we grew the revenue. I mean, the revenue grew from, $4.5 million to almost $7 million, or $7 billion, okay? Well, in that whole situation, then all of a sudden, through the flat budget, you're going up 3% or something like that a year and everything. You end up at 5.2, and you end up with $7 billion of revenue. You end up with $1.8 billion surplus. It is just as simple as just that. From a business guy's standpoint, I just told you just a second ago what my recommendation was to the Senate yesterday with all in me. What we have got to do in the United States of America is exactly what we did in the great state of West Virginia, and that is just simply just this. And Stephen, I can make it so simple it's unbelievable. You got a lawn care business, let's say, and you got a lawnmower and it's not running very good, and you say, well, we'll get rid of that lawnmower, and Daryl over there, Daryl's not, he doesn't work very hard and everything. Let's just cut Daryl out of the picture too. And then all of a sudden you wake up the next year, you tell me how your business is going. Well, Stephen, really and truly, in most situations, you've tried to cut yourself out of the problem. That's what we did in the state of West Virginia before I got here. We tried to cut our way out of the problem. That doesn't usually work. You've got to really manage the store and take care, and that's the flat budget end of this thing, but you've got to grow the revenue. That's why in this country, in my opinion, the way to grow the revenue is energy. Energy is the secret to growing the revenue, right at our fingertips right now. And so why in the world don't we try as best we can, instead of just chopping everybody's legs off, why don't we try to do the very best we possibly can to maintain a really good house and mind the store as best we can, and then grow our revenue? To me, that's what we ought to be doing, but I don't see any hole for 2026, and the bottom line is this, Stephen, is when I walked in the door, remember again, we had a little bit of money in the rainy day fund, and we were getting ready to have our bonds derated. We had already drawn enough money out of the rainy day fund to pay for the years prior to me getting here, and we didn't know what to do. We'd already spent that money. So when I get here, we've got a little bit of money in the rainy day fund. Today, we got over $2 billion in accounts sitting right now, sitting all over the place. Do you think, Stephen, with over $2 billion in accounts right now, that we got a hole for 2026? Come on. I don't see it. All right. Thanks, Stephen.
Yep, Governor, that was the last one for today. Back to you.
Okay, I'm gonna conclude real quick because we've got a Board of Public Works, meeting that I've got to chair. But I congratulate Senator Manchin for all his great service and everything, and I really congratulate WVU, from the standpoint of their soccer team did great work there as well, and I surely congratulate the Marshall folks. Great work, everybody, and please get out to Joyful Nights tonight. It'll be a great celebration and everything. Come on out. I got to run. Thank y'all. God bless.